Welcome to another edition of the New Britain Progressive Forum at newbritainprogressive.com. We're joined tonight by Pastor Dana Smith, who with his wife Evelyn uh, is the organizer of New Life 2, a ministry that helps people recover from addiction and mental health issues, and is a leader in the community in the North Oak neighborhood. Welcome, Pastor Smith.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me tonight. Thank the Progressive for taking this time to want to share my story. How do I? Where do I start? I grew up in New Haven. It was four boys and my sister, and I started drinking. I started drinking with my father, not with him, but every Sunday he would have his brother and uncles and them come over, and every Sunday they have breakfast, and then they would drink the scotch, and they would leave a little bit on the table and stuff. So me and my brothers and them, when they leave or go outside or go in the living room, we would go sit in their spot and act like we was them, and take sips and stuff. So that was the first time I ever had a drink. But as I was growing up, um, I started selling a little bit, dabbing a little bit, and then like that song from Biggie, "Never Get High on Your Own Supply." Well, should have listened to that, and I started dabbing in crack. That's when the crack epidemic was, and spent like 15 years in that, in and out of that, in and out of treatment and detoxes and stuff like that, and eventually I got ran out of New Haven, to tell you the truth, to be honest with you, to stay alive, because I had robbed some people that were looking for me, and so I got out of New Haven. I came to um, Middletown, and I did try to stay off drugs and stuff in Middletown, on and off again. And then when I came here, um, I went to New Beginnings, Apostle Frank Bodie on Spring Street, and which is a faith-based community. I mean, faith-based ministry, and that's when everything just clicked in. The moment I stepped in that ministry, it was like everything I had prayed for had stopped. I smoked my last Newport Long that day. It was 2000, 2000, yeah, 2000. Yep, 2000. And I haven't looked back since. That's where I got my mother raised us in the church, but at the ministry on Spring Street is where I really started getting a relationship and finding out who I was. Getting a relationship with God, but find out who I was, because all the stigma said I was a crackhead. All the stigma says I was an alcoholic. All the stigma says I was a bum. I was useless, and all that. And I believed all that. But then when I went here, I started learning that those are things I did. That's not who I was. I started learning who I am and who I was,
Mhm.
and then stayed there for 2 years. Actually, I stayed in New Beginnings for 2 years, and during that time, the 2 years, I met my wife. She was in the women's ministry, and we became youth pastors. And when we became youth pastors, we started working with the youth in New Britain, doing different. That's when we first started doing events and stuff too, youth events and stuff like
So,
that.
so you've been at this for about 20 years in New Britain.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. The seed was planted in 2000, and we just started growing, and now it's starting to really blossom now. But yeah, we've been at it for a minute. We've been at it for a minute, going through different phases and different things, and learning different things, learning more about who we are, who I am as a man of God, as a father, as a husband, as an activist, as a just a black man, actually, you know,
Mhm.
a black man in today's world. Yeah. So
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So you, having been in recovery and overcome uh, addiction and that life,
Mhm.
you are serving individuals who are in a bad place where you once were, and
Mhm.
and uh, and how many folks are you working with now, for example, in your
Well,
in,
we have a house in the and it's a 2 family house. It's 10 beds,
uh-huh.
5 on each floor, and so right now we're serving 10 guys. See, there's a thing about addiction, right? People say we get high, right? So automatically that stigma about me using to get high is like, oh, I'm having a great time. But there
Right.
was nothing great about it. There was nothing about it. It was it was to it was to mask the trauma, mask the loneliness, mask the pain, to stop hearing the voices in my head and you know what I mean? So it's no different than someone going to a doctor getting a prescription,
Mhm.
right? So instead of me going to the doctor, I went to the guy that sold some marijuana. Instead of me going to the doctor, I went to the guy that sold crack, or I sold crack, and then eventually I went. But each medicine was used to do something.
Mhm.
See, but there's a stigma that if we use, we're getting high, so we must enjoy it. So we gotta you gotta do something because you're wasting your life. You're getting high.
Mhm.
It's to hurt, it's to stop the pain, it's to survive and make it through that minute, that hour, that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Anybody that uses drugs is using it, and the key word is using it for a purpose. Anytime you use something, you're using it for end result. So
Mhm.
that lady, that street worker that's going in and out of cars, and all they see is her getting in and out of cars and doing drugs. But what is the story behind that? I know one lady, she watched her uncle shoot her kid in the head, and she says she can't stop seeing that. She can't stop seeing that. So what did she do? Instead of going to the doctor and get the medication, which she did go, but then the medication that she was prescribed had her doing the shakes, right? And then it had her gaining weight, right? And then it had her mouth all dry. And she, when she tried to
Mhm.
explain it to them, they was like, "Oh, it takes time for your body to adjust." So then they call it self-medicating.
Right. And
So what's
and
the difference? The only difference
yeah.
is she got a prescription.
Mhm. Well, it's personal crisis, loss of job, uh,
It's, it, it, it,
family issues that lead people to the as you say, self medication or
if if you
getting
look at
into that. Yeah.
if you look at the communities, the black communities where there's high concentration of drug use, violence, and things like that, right? But
Mhm.
look around that community, and you see high rate of unemployment. You see a high rate of dropouts. You see the school system is not the best. You see so many obstacles in that way. So you have one man that died with one knee on his neck, right? George
Mhm.
Floyd. Could you imagine a community with several knees on their neck all at
Sure.
once?
Sure.
See what I'm saying? You got unemployment, you got poverty, you got drug use, you got low education, you got so many other knees on your neck.
Hmm. And
And so
and
sometimes we use these substances to help relieve some of that pressure off our necks. So
right.
Floyd was saying I couldn't breathe. There's a lot of people that can't breathe right now, John.
Yeah.
And before there was a pandemic in our communities, there was always a pandemic in our community.
Sure.
So now there's an opioid crisis. But when I was growing up out in Brookside in New Haven, you seen people shooting heroin and ODing all day. And it wasn't no pandemic. It wasn't no funding thrown in there. It was mass incarceration.
Right. So when you intersect with a young adult in New Britain, or the issue when you were a 18-year-old in New Haven, the issues are the drugs might be different, but the issues are exactly the same.
Thank you.
Criminal justice over treatment.
Thank you.
You were referred to probably criminal justice system for getting in a jam before
Three
you got
strikes, you're out.
treatment.
Three
That's
strikes,
okay.
you're out.
So
And the thing about it is, if you can't afford a lawyer, right, you get a public defender. And the public defender got a caseload of what, 200 something? So
right.
the public defender is going to come to me down in the holding cell and say, hey, I talked to the prosecutor. They're willing to give you 3 years suspended and 5 years for probation.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't tell you if you see, it sounds good because I'm not going to jail, right? But they don't tell you now you got a felony.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a knee on your neck, John.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you can't even apply for jobs. Whereas you get a job, and as soon as your background check come back a month later, they're calling you in the office and say they got to let you go because you have a felony.
Right. So
then
so essentially, 18-year-old Dana Smith and 18-year-old Joe Smith in New Britain, particularly when the issue of race and how the system responds to you is about the same.
It is getting
and how
better.
or how is it different today?
It's different. I'm glad you asked that. It's different because the Dana Smith now and the other guys like myself that came up in the system and seeing how it was broken, now we're gap fillers. So we're filling, we're gap fillers. So when we was coming up, there wasn't too many gap fillers, or if there was, we wasn't listening, or they wasn't visible. Like, okay, so the Black Panthers, people think they revolutionary, but did you know the Black Panthers started the first breakfast program in their community? You know, the Black Panthers were the first one to get $1 million grant, and they had schools and everything. And $1 million back then was a lot. So now we're picking that thing up, like with Fred Hampton, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X. We're picking that up for our communities, and we're educating not just the Black men, but we're educating young men and men that these are things you did or do, but that's not who you are.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So now we're like just at the guys at the house. I know who drink coffee, who drink tea. So the young men and the men I speak to, I know them. I'm interested in their worldview, their story, what's behind that, and I share mine. Mm-hmm. So now we're building that connection.
Mm-hmm. And
see, New Life brings that humanity back. We take the time to hear, see, and value you. Because you matter. Because somebody took the time to hear, see, and value me. And to let me know I mattered.
So that's the pathway you're opening up that meets the needs of a group, one group at a time, one person at a time. How many more Dana Smiths do we need in towns like New Britain and New Haven?
There's a whole bunch of Dana Smiths out there. They're just named different. Right now, like we're getting together with the Black Minister Alliances, and you know, we're working with the Friendship Center. Great. They're giving back to the community. We're working with CMHA. Big shout out to CMHA. We're working with the police department. Big shout out, Bruce Baxter, Chief Bruce Baxter, and the EMS. So now it's finally coming together. Now we have a seat at the table. Sure. So before, when organizations and agencies were coming in the community, John, they would sit around and have a meeting, right? And then come tell us, this is what we're going to do for you. This is what's good for you. Mm-hmm. And then get mad at us if we don't participate in it. Well, we didn't have no say in it.
So top down instead of bottom up, you know?
Yeah. So suppose you ride by my house, right? And you keep seeing these windows broke, and You go back to your organization. You say, you know what, Dana house got windows broken. It's raining. It's cold. Let's fix the windows. You show up at my door. Hey, you show up my door with reporters, cameras, and Anderson windows or whatever. You fix my windows, right? You ride by next week. The windows are broke again. You fix the windows again. The third time you ride by, the windows are broke, but you have a meeting. You say, let's tell them, look, this is the last time we're going to fix it, and right? So you knock on the door. You say, Mr. Smith, we don't fix your windows 3 times. We're going to fix it one more time, but you got to stop breaking the window. What's going on? And I say, if you would have asked, we appreciate you fixing our windows. Appreciate it. But if you would have came and asked us the first time, we would have told you this is why the windows keep getting broke. So if we would have took care of this problem, you would have only had to fix my windows 1 time. What's my point? If you come ask us in the community about our community, we'll tell you what's going on in our community. We'll tell you, you may have A, B, C, D, and we might tell you, no, you need to do D first, work your way backwards. You see what I'm saying? So now we're saying, if you're coming into our home being our community, we are asking, or almost kind of demanding, but that we have a seat at the table of the planning from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Don't come to us after you don't work things out amongst you guys who barely live in here. You ride by and you see broken windows and you think you know how to fix the windows. You may know how to fix the windows, but we don't need the windows fixed first. We need what's breaking the windows to stop first.
Right. So you're a leader, the North Oak community.
Yes.
A couple of
one of the leaders.
A couple of blocks from me. What's your take on what's needed in the North Oak community in terms of community policing?
Well, actually, we've been working closely with the police as far as North Street and that North Oak area. And let me tell you, good. Chief Schutz and Acting Chief Assistant Chief Murphy and the captains and all from the captains on down, they're right there with us.
Good.
They're right there with us. And the thing about it, what I really love is they're not trying to arrest nobody unless somebody really push it, but they're out there trying to find the needs of the people. See, they come and ask the needs of the people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They don't just take it because they see you on the corner, all right, frisk you and harass. No, they get to find out the needs of the person, see if the person needs assistance or where they might need assistance, and
right.
then we take it from there, or they refer them to us in the community. You know what I mean? And
right. Well, that brand of policing doesn't work without people like you, community policing.
Because you got to look at the origin of the police. The police was formed as a slave state to bring back runaway slaves.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And even if the police are trained on de-escalation in the community, right. Sometimes just the car or the very presence will set someone off. Mm-hmm. So that's why New Life came up with our trainings. We have training on mental health, addiction, and reentry. So our thing is, so the agencies go home after 5 o'clock. Agencies don't work on weekends, but we all know addiction and mental health and things don't go nowhere. I don't care what day it is. So our thing is, we started coming up with trainings for the community. Mm-hmm. So if we train you, John, and your wife, and your kids having a problem or your wife's having a problem, but you're trained to know the language. You're trained to know the things to say, what not to say, or how to, talk to them in a calm voice or what's going on, right? Now that might save your house one police visit or one ambulance visit where now when the ambulance come or whatever, now that person's going to the hospital and then they're getting committed or something like that. Or the police is called and the police is doing their best to de-escalate it. But like I said, the very presence, now that person is hyped up, that person's paranoid, going off. Now the police has to arrest them. Mm-hmm. But if the community is trained in these things, then the community could de-escalate their own family members or their neighbors and things like that. So we're not saying we're teaching the community how to build an engine, right? Because that's that's what the professionals are for. But we are teaching the community how to change a tire, how to change the oil,
Right.
the basic things that they don't know that they're
You're,
relying on agencies for.
you describe yourself as a coach, if I'm not
No,
mistaken,
you see,
or
we're like
as,
our training is called integrated healer facilitators.
okay.
So we facilitate. We'll sit back and say, this is how you do. Now you do it.
Yeah.
We don't call them clients because we're non-clinical. We say participants because now you're participating in your own recovery. You're participating in where you want to go. We also got a training coming out. We're collaborating with SAMHSA itself on harm reduction.
So to get to a social worker or a counselor or other thing, you facilitate people recovering if they need those services, but you're sticking to the basics.
Yes.
Exactly.
We're not clinical. We by no means are case managers. By no means we run clinical groups. We leave that up to the people
Right.
that's qualified to do that.
In other words,
we do share our lived experience, though.
Yeah, well, and you're meeting people where they are, rather than in an office with a desk and a chair and all that stuff. So that
and I gotta admit, like CMHA, the Friendship Center, and a few others are where HRA, where some communities agencies want the community to serve them, right? These agencies that we're collaborating with are actually getting back to serving the community, and they're actually starting to listen to the grassroots, the people that's out on the front lines on what do you think we should do? How do you think we should go about this?
Right. Well, I think
so we're working together now, which is beautiful.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think the Ministries Alliance was on target in recognizing the work you've been doing for 20 years. I didn't realize that, but it's a story that needs to be told for a lot of folks in New Britain. Tell us.
Yeah, but there's a lot of folks out there doing the same thing we're doing, and
oh, sure.
The thing is it's not us against them, John.
No,
we will if we all come together, if the agencies come together, like even with City Hall, the mayor and Mallory, Debris and them, right? They're collaborating with us on a lot of projects, like from May, June, July, August, September. September is Recovery Month. For the 5 months leading up to Recovery Month, it's the EMSs, City Hall, Spotswoods Unlimited, the Black Minister Alliance, New Life. We're all coming together, and we're going to be doing different events each month leading up to Recovery Month. Now, Recovery Month is going to be fantastic. I'm excited, and it's not even here because we're going to be doing Family Day in recovery. We're going to have recovery bands and stuff at Walnut Hill Park. It's going to be amazing.
Tell me, what did you say, September?
Yeah, September is Recovery Month. So we're going to start in May, but September is going to be like, then that's all a part of us all coming together.
Yeah, that's it's very encouraging to see that level of cooperation because as you say, there's no competition, it's cooperation in terms
No, because we're all getting back and realizing, hey, it's not us against you or you against us. It's us serving the community. And if you're the best one to serve in this area, then by all means, we'll follow your lead.
All right. Well,
it's about community.
All right. Well, tell us, people are interested in supporting you, or how do we learn more about New Life 2?
Well, you can definitely go to our website. It's newlife2.org, and it tells you all about our training, tells you about all the community events coming up and how we do things. You could call me personally. My number is 860-371-8271. I'm always on North Street, right? Like we just got 2 cases of COVID kits, and there's 80 kits in a box. And we're going to be at Jesus Barbershop at 188 North Street, and we're going to be giving out COVID kits and backpacks full of supplies.
That's wonderful. And when is that happening?
That's going to be this Monday at 10 o'clock.
Oh, very good. Well, it's as somebody who's lived in the area for 35 years, it's very encouraging to see you've stepped up on the North Oak neighborhood, and you've been doing all this work. So um, anything the Progressive can do to support your efforts, we're going to be there with you. So
Oh, you guys have definitely, like Tim O'Brien, and you guys have definitely been there. Every event the Black Minister Alliance does, everything we do is you guys get it out there to the public. You know what I mean? And we definitely appreciate that.
yeah.
You know.
Well, I just want to wrap up on one more thing with the pandemic and COVID. The people you train, the people you intersect with, how are people feeling these days about this added kind of burden or situation?
I'm glad you asked. People are on the North Oak, the ones I speak to are unsure. They're not sure if they're getting the right information. They don't know. You got so many YouTube doctors out there, man. You know, if you put a magnet up to your skin and it sticks, that means they're shooting metal in you. And so we're going to be collaborating with the CHC Community Health Center.
Yes.
And the beautiful thing is they got some Black doctors that's volunteering their time to come into the community, Black and Spanish doctors that come into the community and share the proper information.
Yeah.
And not only that, but CHC and the city health department, Caleb and them, they're actually, you know, recruiting some of the faith-based community to use their places, their churches and stuff like that, to speak to the congregations, to speak to the members, to speak to the, you know, just the community as a whole, and give them the right information and give them a chance, the opportunity. Now, here go the right information. So it's up to you whether you choose to get vaccinated or not. All we're doing is presenting you with the truth.
Yeah, that rooting out the bad information along with the other conditions people are finding is.
But it goes further. It goes, and that's good. But it goes further than that, because John, honestly, in this area, the North Oak, and ex-mayor Tim O'Brien, and you've been living here for 35 years, you can testify. It stuff barely gets over this side. We're the last. You ever see the guys in the parking lot feeding the pigeons? Right? So what they're feeding the pigeons is the ends of the bread that nobody wants. We get the drippings, or we used to get the drippings. We used to get the ends. Now we're saying no. We want to be included from the beginning.
Right. That's how you build a healthy community. So that's what you're doing right now.
And one more thing, the good thing about what we're doing is a lot of people are focusing on working with the youth, and that's all good, right? But I have seen where people have worked with the youth, and the youth go home and say, "Hey, mom, hey, dad, you know, you guys really need to stop doing this and doing that." And the mother and father be like, "Oh, so you know better than me now? You're gonna tell me what to do? If you're that grown, then move out of my house."
Right.
See, you got to get the parents, so the parents can teach the kids. It don't go up. I mean, down to up. It goes up. I mean, it goes up to down.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So if you don't treat the whole household and you only treat one section of the household, it's still infected. But as you get the whole house,
right?
Then once you get the whole house, you got the whole community, and you get the whole community, you got the whole city. You get the whole city, you got the whole state.
Oh wow, yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, it's encouraging to hear your story, number one, and that you're in New Britain, in my neighborhood, sort of, to be doing this work. We've come to the end of as I told you, 30 minutes now that has gone by very quickly.
Very quickly.
And we want to be able to continue to share and report on your work and hear your perspective on that. So I want to thank you, and I look forward to visiting you as well at your place. And again, it's an important to have a self-help facilitating people on the road to recovery, and creating pathways where they've been down so long. You bring them up from a bad place. So
Yeah, but it's more than that too, John. Like we're working with the men and women in addiction and mental health, but we also want to serve the families because the families are tired too. Families are afraid too, and the families don't understand why we did what we did or do what we do. They think we're like something's really wrong with us. We're not broken.
right.
We're crying out for help. We're just asking people to hear what we're not saying and see what they're not seeing.
Well,
See beyond the crack pipe. See beyond the needles.
right.
See beyond me getting in and out of the cars.
Right. Well, that's why I asked you about the pandemic and how people are feeling, and it's just one more
Knee
uh,
on the neck.
knee on the neck, exactly, to revert back to the bottle or to get some relief from the pressures and the bad conditions,
Yeah.
life situations people can fall into. There, but for the grace of God, is that the expression
Yeah.
that it can happen to anybody, but it's particularly hard on a lot of folks
Look at when
who
the pandemic first hit, right? The Norfolk area didn't have Wi-Fi, but they had Chromebooks. You see what I'm saying? And then they sent home Chromebook. It was one per household. So say if you got three
yeah,
kids going to school.
right,
Now say mom's got to work. Or
yeah,
you staying with grandma. And grandma, I know I had problems with my son doing some of this stuff.
yes,
So now that's a whole year we can't get back.
exactly, and uh, and it's going to take the community a long time to recover from that, and uh, uh, on the school education side, you're absolutely right.
And the good thing about it, like all the mayor, the city hall, all the CMHA, Friendship Center, Wheeler, all of us are coming together now. All the churches and stuff
Yeah,
like that. Um, they're all coming together now because you know why? We haven't really seen the after effects of this because we're still in it. You know how a
oh,
hurricane and that it comes and then you see the after effects.
yes,
We haven't seen that yet because we're still in the middle. But after we're going to see so much debris. And hear me on this: the debris is not going to be buildings; it's going to be people.
yeah,
It's going
yeah,
to be families. It's going to be lives. And this is not going to be a time where this is my part. This is my part. This is my grant. No, it's going to be a time if we're serving the community, then we need to serve the community because they need a light. They need the guidance. They need support. They need assistance. But they also need to be a part of what's going on.
right. Inclusiveness and equity and all those things, and get up every day so that we can overcome all these challenges we have in the community. But
You see, they say teacher, give a man a fish to eat for a day, teach him to fish to eat for a life. But then what happens if you teach me how to fish, John, but you take all the equipment with you?
yeah,
So
well,
now I got to keep waiting for you to come by every week or every month when you feel like coming by to give me a pole, to give me some bait. Teach them
right.
how to fish and then leave everything with them so they don't have to rely on you anymore.
Not the crumbs, but the whole loaf of bread, right? So that's
Or how about share the recipe too? But think about it. If you teach me how to fish, you leave the poles and stuff like that. Just because I won't need you to show me how to fish anymore, I'm still going to need you because there's going to be more needs now.
all right. Well, I want to wrap up now, and I think we need to bring you back for more, and we'll do that at another time. But it's great to be informed about New Life too,
Thank you.
and this will be on our online newspaper to share with others. And again, thank you for being our guest. And anything we can do to support your efforts, you can.
Just if you
Let us
pray,
know.
please keep us in your prayers.
Amen. We'll do
All
that.
right. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thanks, Pastor Dana Smith, for being our guest tonight. This has been another edition of Britain Progressive. Kudos to Tim O'Brien
Tim
for
O'Brien, whoop whoop.
making this possible. And we'll be trying to do this again frequently to share these good stories and this good work about our neighborhoods in New Britain. Have a good evening.
Thank you.